What's going on, running fans, jumping fans, throwing fans, all around athletics fans? Welcome to Talking in Ovals, your favorite runner's future favorite podcast. I don't know, Dave. We have to find the tagline here. I don't like just going in with nothing, but we got to find something. That wasn't good. We're not using that again. But anyway, welcome to the show. We have a great show for you guys today. Before we get into all the fun stuff, like, share, follow, subscribe, give us a 5-star rating, spread this word of mouth. Go find us on the socials. Just search in Talking in Ovals. Believe me, before I started the show, I checked. Nobody thinks of this name. So we will be there. You'll see our logo. Today is Monday, January 23rd of 2023. And as I mentioned, my partner in crime, the man everyone comes to hear, Dave Hyatt's with me. What's up, brother?
Not much, man. Just feeling a little bit sick. So if my voice sounds altered, that is why. But I'm going to push through, and we're going to have a great episode.
No excuses. Play like a champion. That's the rule right there. No excuses. Play like a champion. But you're here. We're ready to have a good time. Before we jump into all of our fun stuff in our show, please, if you haven't already, go listen to last week's show. We had Eddie Baines on. He is Hyatt's second favorite athlete to ever coach. You're talking right now. The one that's talking right now is his favorite athlete he's ever coached. But no, Eddie was fantastic. I was the biggest pain in the ass he's ever coached, but Eddie was a great show. We had to cut that one short. So if you listen to it, we will have Eddie on again because we barely, we got through his running journey. We barely got into some of the other stuff that we wanted to talk about. So it was a great show though. Go give it a listen and, he'll be back again. So if you liked it, you'll get some more. If you didn't like it, tough luck. You'll still get some more. Anyway, so Dave, we have some PRs. We're doing good here. We are consistent. Our first one technically isn't a PR. We're giving a shout out to, you coached at Manchester. Manchester's my alma mater. I went there. But Nick Lafredo, he did the double at the Ocean County Championships indoor. He won the 1600 and the 3200. The 16 was in 428. The 32 was in 945. Me and Dave were texting earlier, and congrats to Nick for not only winning, but the race plan between him, Griff, whoever perfectly executed. Nick knew he was the class of the county, and he didn't leave it any doubt at all. I feel like his 3200 was a little more impressive just the way at about the 800, 1,000 left. He just left everyone in the dust. It wasn't even close. So congrats to Nick.
No doubt whatsoever.
Yeah. So congrats to Nick. Congrats to Manchester overall. They took third. It was a really, really tough. The top three teams, I think they had like 64 points and it was 68 and 72. Or 74. So it was close. It was decided by a few things. They were good. They'll be hungry for outdoor. So I'm excited for the Ocean County outdoor, but conferences, states coming up. We'll have more for you guys there. More PRs from Ocean Township. We have a PR from our good buddy, Coach Lynch over there. At the Monmouth County Champs, Samantha Trench in the 55-meter hurdles won the whole meet in an 8.57, top 10 time in New Jersey. And now she leads the group by 0.01 seconds. So by a tenth of a second, it's as close as you can get. And the young lady that she's leading, she'll be seeing this weekend. So it's exciting right there. I'm pulling for Samantha there. And the last ones that I'm going to talk about here, Westfield PRs. We got some more from Westfield at the novice meet at the Armory. Rowan McMahill. I'm going to ruin names. Rowan McMahill with a 9-foot 6-inch pole vault. Dave Moreland with a 7.05 55 meter, and Frazier Perron with a 5-minute 25.3 second 1600 meter. All PRs for those three. And then over at Watchung Hill shot put meet, another Westfield athlete, Owen Paul with the 52-foot shot put, PR for him. So congrats to everyone with your PRs. Looking forward to more from all of you. Dave, what do you got?
I got some PRs from our past guests, Wilfredo Rivera and Adam Nelvin over at South Brunswick. We have Jason Kaiser at 7.83 and Carol Porbeni 7.92 to place second and third in the GMC championships in the 55 hurdles. From our buddy Steve Geiger over at Lacey, Vinay Narayan breaks 10 minutes for the first time in the 3200 to get sixth place at the Ocean County Championships at the time of 9:56. And also, I forgot he's from South Brunswick. He ran 9:59 to get sixth at GMC. Andrew Tatesher from Lacey breaks 10 minutes also for the first time, also gets sixth place. But this time it was at the Ocean County Championships. And I'd also like to give a shout out to one of our past guests, Scott Baker, on his boys team at Southern Regional, winning the Ocean County Championships. So congrats, everyone. Keep it up and keep sending in those PRs.
Yeah, we love to hear about it. I was wondering how you were going to navigate that, because when I looked at the PRs between Tacher and Narayan, and both of them breaking 10, both of them getting 6, both of them, like, I was wondering how you're going to navigate that skillfully, I might say. Skillfully. So,
and I butchered it, but that's all right.
We're going to call it skill, okay? It was prepared and practiced. But anyway, Today we have an amazing show, mostly because, we've had a bunch of Dave's friends on, which are like his family. But we have a special show, one that we've never done before, and I think we want to do more of. We have Dave's parents on with us, Pam and Bill Hyatt. And, outside of being Dave's parents, they are some of the most dedicated running parents. And any running parents that listen, what it takes to be a dedicated running parent. There's a small cult of you that go on every single place to all the meets. But I'm excited to have you guys on. Hey, Pam. Hey, Dave. How are you? No, not Dave. Hey, Bill.
Doing good, Alex. Doing good.
Hi, Alex.
So, yeah, sorry for calling you Dave. I said to Dave that you and Bill, you guys look exactly alike. You look exactly like your son. So that's why I'm going to get confused. I'm going to call you Dave a ton. I'm not going to lie.
Just don't call me Dave. Okay?
I mean, I don't know. We'll see. But so I want to jump into this right away. So whoever wants to go first, what was it like being a running parent? Just overall first, like, what was it like getting into it, kind of sitting there and standing around for 8 hours a day to watch him run for 2 minutes? Like, what was that like? Can you explain what it's like being a running parent to anyone that hasn't out there yet?
It's kind of exciting to watch the kids, start out in 8th grade, and just start running, and then all of a sudden start winning. And then my wife and I just got into it, and we never missed a high school or college meet for Dave. It was exciting. We had fun, and we saw individuals come together as a team.
That's always good. And that's important. Go ahead, Pam. What are you going to say?
Yeah, we were very fortunate. Our jobs allowed us the opportunity to be at all the meets. And that made it really possible for us to get to know the kids. I was a school teacher in the same school system that Dave ran for. I was at North, and he ran for South. And a lot of my students, were athletes, and some of them were runners, and they competed against Dave. And that made it even more fun.
Yeah, I have animosity towards all of Tom's River because I'm Manchester. So we're the redheaded stepsister of like everyone between Tom's River, Jackson, Brick. We just get picked on by everybody. So for me,
I graduated from Central.
Oh, Central, they're the worst because they're exactly like us. You guys are like quite literally the same people as we are. That's why we hate each other the most. But yeah, no. So it was good. So you guys mentioned something, both of you, that you watched a team come together. And we've had some coaches mention this, but from a parent's perspective, you guys are going into this, and cross country and track are individual sports per se, right? You're going there, you're challenging yourself, you're trying to beat your own times, but there becomes a team element. What was that like for you, kind of watching your son and rooting for your son? Because obviously you want your son to run, break his PRs, all that type of stuff. But then watching the team aspect, what was it like growing into like, okay, I want Dave to do well, but if Dave doesn't do well, I want so-and-so also. Like, how was it coming to watch everyone instead of just Dave?
Well, part of it was because Dave grew up with a couple of the kids on his cross-country team. I mean, his buddy Pete, he knew him since he was almost in kindergarten. So we knew them as kids. So watching them kind of develop as a team was phenomenal. Dave's coaches, O'Leary and Heffernan, they made it a team. You weren't allowed to be an individual.
Absolutely.
Each kid, whether they were the least able or the most able as athletes, to always strive to be their best. But their focus was always on what the team would do as a group. And I think the parents just naturally fell into that.
Alex, I also got to say that Tom Rebo, Dave's 8th grade coach, I think started Dave, got him interested, kept him going, and gave him all kinds of kudos to go. And I think that started Dave on his running career.
Absolutely. I mean, I didn't start running till eighth grade. I didn't start in sixth and seventh grade. And then, I remember running with Jay Anklitz, who was also on my team, and then we were the only two kids where we would actually run on Saturday. Because my coach.
But you ran also with Cheryl McCaffrey.
Right. Because my middle school coach was very good friends with McCaffrey's dad, who was running at Central. And I thought I was really, really, really hot shit until we had to run against Central, and he blew the doors off of us. And then he did it again, counting.
I remember that, Dad.
But I mean, he had been running for a while, so we got to. I don't know how many kids actually had practice on the weekends in middle school, but we would go to Winding River Park, and me, my buddy Jay, and Sean, and we would just run there. And it was kind of cool to kind of run with someone from a different school, and like. I was still very, very new. But my mom and dad were always there. They were at every single meet. And, I remember telling them, I need this, I need spikes, or I need this, and then, we would go out that same day, and then I would have spikes, or I remember I had to have a Gore-Tex suit if it rained. I had a Gore-Tex suit.
But it was also eighth grade day where you went from individual to team. When you started out, you were winning every meet. You lost one meet and it really upset you, but then you grew into team rather than individual.
Yeah, I lost that meet at Central.
Sean. Yeah, I remember that.
And then county meet too. I got third. My was Sean. My buddy was second, and then I was third. But I mean, over Intermediate West, we had like 80 kids, and we just absolutely crushed everyone. So I was fortunate enough to always be on a very good team at every level that I ever ran. So. That was cool. But, just having my mom and dad there the whole time it was wonderful, because there were definitely kids who didn't have that, and then I'm sure we'll get into it later, but they became, parents for most of the kids on the team. And it was an amazing time. And just reading the responses that my mom wrote just brought back so many memories. I got a tear in my eye just reading them. It was a very emotional and fun time to.
It was fun. It really was.
So, Dave, I have to ask, you had, obviously your parents were very dedicated. Like they wanted to come on our little show, which was fantastic. And, they were dedicated at the time when you were running. Did you realize just how fortunate you were? Because like you mentioned, there were kids that didn't have their parents come to every meet for whatever circumstance, whether they couldn't, whatever. But you had your parents that made the effort, came to all the meets, had a badass RV and made it into a fun event for you. But at the time when you were running, we were all young and kids, a little naive, a little bit self-centered, right? When you're that young, did you realize how fortunate you were? Or did it take some time to step back and look at things and go, man, parents are kind of awesome?
I think more so as I got older. I mean, I guess I kind of took it for granted. That's just how it was. There were times I'd say where I did get annoyed at things. I remember having a bad race, and my mom or dad's like, "Well, at least you finished." I'm like, "The hell are you talking about? I'm supposed to finish." Get away from me, But so, but as I got older, and now as a parent myself, and my daughters, they don't live near me, so I can't go to everything that they have. I definitely appreciate it so much more now. But yeah, I mean, I guess it just was how it was. I knew that my mom and dad were going to be there every race. So I didn't really think about it. It was just kind of they were just there, and I knew that I would have a T-shirt for every meet that I ever ran at, because
that was important.
They would buy me one.
That was important. Yeah, hell yeah.
But so I mean, I was extremely fortunate with that. But I guess I definitely at that time took it for granted, because I didn't know anything else. So it's just kind of how it was.
So, Bill, you guys sent awesome responses to some of the questions that Dave had pre-show, and I loved reading them. And one of the things that you mentioned in there was Junior Olympics, traveling around the country to go run with Dave, and those experiences. And then you mentioned something that you had, you bonded. You and Dave bonded. You guys got to know each other at a deeper level than you probably would have if it wasn't for this crazy sport of running that sends you all these places. how do you feel about the time that you got to spend with Dave and, really getting to know him as a young man and know his work ethic and kind of some of the things I think a lot of parents kind of like they feel they don't know their kids. You know what I mean? This is getting a little existential here, but especially with social media and things going on, like obviously there wasn't Facebook and everything back when, in the Stone Age, when Dave ran, when there was
no internet.
Tinder track. I mean, but no, like talk about that experience. Cause I think that's a really cool part that especially I didn't do Junior Olympics and stuff like that. Like I didn't have that privilege. We've had a bunch of guests on here that did Junior Olympic stuff and everything, but kind of talk about how that was, really getting to know yourself.
It was fun. And when we did go to the Junior Olympics, I think, was it Pittsburgh for cross country, Dave, or was it Alabama?
Well, Pittsburgh was regional race.
For cross country.
Cross country. And then 1 year Nationals was in Alabama and 1 year in Mobile, Alabama, and 1 year was in Sandy, Oregon.
Yeah. So fortunately, Dave went with his good friend, Jay Ankowitz. And Jay's mother was another parent who went to all the races too. So we all went out. We went to every race. I mean, we went to Pittsburgh. We went to Oregon. It was just, we really got to bond with the kids, and they took their ice baths and, they did everything. And it was just a great time. And remember Hooters, Dave? We took you guys to Hooters.
Hell yeah.
Awesome. Overrated wings, underrated women. Anyway, sorry, family-friendly show. Anyway, but so what did you learn about Dave? Was there something specific that when you were going out there, just watching Dave compete in, out of your comfort zone, out of the small little state of New Jersey, traveling around the country against some really, really talented kids? Did you learn something that you didn't know about Dave on those trips, or did he confirm?
I just learned that he was intensely competitive and he strived to win, and that was his motivator. But I also saw Dave learn. He learned, it balanced him. Track balanced him. It gave him a sight, something to look at, made him do better in school. It just balanced his life. It was good to see from a kid that was a little bit, what would you say, Pam? A little cocky to balance. That's when the team came in as opposed to me, and he became so team orientated that I think it was just great to see.
Yeah, I mean, funny story. I remember in 8th grade, I got suspended from school like 4 or 5, maybe 6 times. From my brother was sick; he was in the hospital, and my mom and dad maybe weren't around as much because they were obviously with him. So I was just being kind of a selfish jerk. So I said, "Oh, maybe to get attention, I'll get in trouble in school." So the head coach from Tom River North, where my mom taught, was trying to convince her and other people were for me to go to a North so that my mom could be at the school and make sure that I was doing the right things. So I was very, very, and my dad was even pushing for me to go to high school North. So my mom can finish the story, but so she went up to talk to the high school North coach, and what did he say?
Yeah, it was one of the things that impressed me so much about him. I explained the circumstances, and he knew about Adam being sick and everything. And I said, my husband wants him to come here. I'm open to the idea. What do you think? And he told me, he said, your son's very talented. He's got a lot of skill. He said, there's no reason for him not to go to High School South. He said, that's where you live. That's the people he knows. And the coach there will absolutely positively help him grow, not only as an athlete, but as a person. I said, well, you lost a runner. Because I went to Tom's River High School. South's my alma mater. I wanted him to go to South. That's why I resisted it. If John Coleman had said, yeah, bring him here, I probably would have given in. But he gave me the best advice he ever could have. Let him go where he's supposed to go. Let him be where he's supposed to be.
And Mark O'Leary was the best thing that ever happened to Dave.
Yeah.
Kudos to Coach Coleman in that, because,
Yes,
obviously Dave was very talented and he would have improved North and made them more competitive than they were. And North is always a juggernaut because they're massive.
Oh, we kicked North's ass, man. It was great.
Yeah, but adding you to that team would have definitely made him a little bit better. But kudos to him for being able to not be greedy, and and I'd imagine there's a little bit of like school switching in the Toms River area because you guys are fairly close. So that I imagine that happened to them out.
There were 2 kids on my team who were supposed to go to North, but they went south.
Yeah, that's cool.
It was not a big deal. It was kind of something that Toms River always did.
Especially that's not fair.
You could bring your own kid with you if you wanted.
Yeah, it's not fair. Stop it, Toms River. That's just mean-spirited, not fair.
You only had one school. We had 3. What am I going to say?
Cut all you in half. Go away. But but yeah, so all that, I love hearing all of this. I love hearing the parent side. I love hearing Dave going on and being appreciative of it all. So when he was younger, Dave was obviously always athletic. He's very into sports still to this day, as am I. How old was he when you sat there and looked and was like, all right, I think we have an athlete on our hands here. Like, I think he's going to be something, and now let's see where he fits type of deal.
Pine Beach, every 4th of July.
No, it was clear from the beginning. First of all, he could never sit still. It was clear from the beginning that the kid has some athletic skills. We had no idea what sport it was going to be. Little kids, bunch ball soccer, right? He clearly was the fastest. He could run forever. He was not the most coachable child when he was little, but he loved sports and he was very competitive. It was obvious from when he was young.
In baseball. Then he wanted to try football. And Pam took him into the backyard and said, "You want to play football? You're small. Go out for a pass." She threw him the pass. He dropped every one of them. We started calling him Stony because he had hands of stone.
I don't recall that.
I'm sure you don't.
But I'll take your guys' word for it.
So then he played baseball, but it was that 8th grade, where he started running, and it just took off.
Well, in our little town of Pine Beach, every 4th of July, we have these big town party.
And races.
And they had races on Admiral Farragut's field. He won every single year his age group. Every single. One year they made you run like 5 races.
They claim that I tied the first 4 times. I think because that they were trying to get someone else to win, but then I just beat them to.
Yeah. But it was obvious almost from when he was really small. He's competitive and he had skills. Yeah.
I have to, say one for the little guy that played football. I was that little guy that played football. Dave would have been just fine. Dave would have been just fine. I was a little 5'0" kid that would sit there and look at the biggest kid and go, "I'm going to sprint as fast as I can and hit him on the first play and let him know that I'm here." That was my crazy mentality. And Dave would have been fine. Dave would have been a football superstar.
Yeah, but mom couldn't handle it.
I think my mom definitely, she probably has stories of just watching me being the little guy, just getting trucked and her thinking I'm dead on the field and then just popping up like the dummy that I am. But yeah, I digress. This isn't a football podcast, but so you had an athlete. So how did you feel watching him become an athlete? And then once he does, like you talked about the balance that helped him find, right? Was there a sense of relief when you watched him kind of change from lack of a better term, a little punk for a little while, to now somebody who wants to achieve in school so that they can continue to run?
Yeah, no question. And that happened in high school. I think part of it began, he was in 8th grade. He was this stud cross-country kid in 8th grade. And then he didn't focus too much academically, and he was not academically eligible to participate in track in 8th grade.
Yep.
I think he was a little annoyed at me because his one teacher had said, if it really matters for him, I can give him the C instead of the D. I said, no, he's got to learn a lesson. He learned it quick. And I think that was the beginning of his transition. He got into high school and he learned really fast that he was not the big man on campus. He was good. He was the best freshman they had. And the coach actually told him in the beginning, "You're not running varsity because you're a freshman." And then he went there thinking he was going to run the freshman meet. And the coach said, keep running. And he ended up being a varsity athlete as a freshman. I tell you what, one of the happiest days of my life was the day we took him to get his varsity jacket because he was getting a varsity letter.
As a freshman.
My dream in life was to get a varsity athletic jacket for me. I never got one, but when he was a freshman, that was pretty cool.
Well, it was also that being academically ineligible in 8th grade that led to the private track team that took him to the Junior Olympics. And that was important, I also think, in him learning team sports.
Yeah, I have to give a big shout out to Les Wright. And
Les Wright was fantastic.
And Cosmic Track Club out of Long Branch. He had a club, and he took us all for cross country and track, and he was our coach, and he went with us to every meet. He was a great guy, and thank you to Les Wright. He was
and he did a lot for a lot of other kids who didn't have the advantages.
He actually took some disadvantaged kids on his own to the Junior Olympics, paid for it and everything else. He was a fabulous man.
Great guy.
And, and that's something I think we need to, Dave, we might have to start pushing for that type of stuff more because, man, what's an easier sport, right? Than track, than running. And I get you have to pay fees in order to get into meets, but why aren't there more running clubs for underprivileged youth? They need to, I feel like, Dave, that needs to be a quest of ours to kind of push for more people or try to make awareness there. I think that'll be a good quest for us to take on for this show. So Dave always likes to talk, and when we were leading up to this, he talked about, all the time, just like, my parents, when they were there, they weren't just mine, they were the team parents. Like they were there, they were all the time, they were always cheering for not only me, everyone else in the team. They knew everyone's name, vice versa. You and I mentioned the RV before. I want to talk about this RV because I have been to so many meets and I've never seen an RV parked by the side. I've never been served pasta by an opposing team's parent.
That was great.
Absolute nonsense. So talk about the RV and kind of the decision behind, let's just start bringing this monstrosity to meets and decorating it and really doing some school. How did the whole entire team parent aspect, what made you guys sit there and just completely and totally buy in and say, you know what, we're in, let's go full on, running parent overall?
I think it started out, they'd always have the pasta parties before the night before a meet and everything. And we said, hey, we have this RV, let's just take it to the meet. And we bought this big, gigantic grill type thing with that oil. We cooked pasta all day long. And when their meet was over, they had to be finished. They would have some pasta. And then the coaches would come and have pasta. And then we had so much left over. We had other kids come by. Hey, you want some pasta? Take it, And it really got us into it. And I think other teams kind of enjoyed seeing our RV there.
I think they were jealous.
And Pam made the sheets and put Tom's River South track, and then we had it draped over.
Well, you guys also ordered these big, huge magnets that said Tom's River South, and you stick them on the side. And
I remember that.
There also might have been some adult beverages for the coaches.
Magic cooler?
Magic cooler, yeah.
That's never been proven.
Deny till you die.
That's a legend.
Wow. So we're in cross country, and it's just the freshman and JV races were early in the morning. We're going to Warnaco Park in Elizabeth.
Yeah.
So rather than get two buses, my parents tell Coach O'Leary, listen, we will bring them up in the RV so that they don't have to get up early and go. So we're going there. My dad's driving, and we break down. And we're like, we didn't have cell phones, so we're just imagining Mr. O'Leary, who was very.
Yeah, we had the top 7 guys.
The whole varsity team. So, and they came. So my dad and another parent rented cars, left the RV there, drove us in the cars the rest of the way to Elizabeth. We get there about maybe 5 to 10 minutes before the race. The JV team is standing on the line to hold our spots. We all come in, we all put on spikes. There's no warm up, and we ended up winning the meet. So
that was fun.
That was a great story.
They used to
O'Leary's
compete.
like, where the hell were you guys? He's like, but then afterwards, he's like, that's going to be a good one for the book.
But the top 7 guys used to compete to go in the motorhome. It was kind of fun.
So who was more scared of O'Leary? Was it the athletes or was it you guys?
The athletes.
Well, Mark was a neighbor also from Pine Beach. And around our house, O'Leary we called him God. He was best thing ever happened to Dave.
We were talking about getting Coach O'Leary on the podcast, and Dave's like, I don't know if he could do Zoom. So
no, he was the best. I mean, it was a different time then. So like, rather than have my parents come pick me up, he would just drive me home every day. Like you can't really do that now as a coach because everything's changed, and it's
down the street. I mean,
but some nights I wouldn't get home till like 6 or 7 because after practice we would go and him and our other coach would just tell stories for like 2 hours. And it was just, that was my favorite part of the whole practice was just hanging out with them. And then I remember when I turned 21, going out and having a drink with them at the Anchor Inn in Ocean Gate. It was like the coolest thing that ever happened. Like I'm having a beer with my old coaches. And then going back in that coaching with them was it was amazing.
Well, you talked about the RV. Our boys grew up. We were RVing from the time they were really babies, and it brought our family together. And we figured, we have it, we might as well use it. And I think it helped. I think it helped make the whole team feel like they were closer together to each other, and it was a unique thing. And I think it gave the kids as a team even a better identity. As we're South.
Yeah. It's unfortunate because I can't imagine a school okaying something like that now. And it wasn't.
I'm sure.
Not now,
the thing is, too, it wasn't even a school okaying it. It was really you guys talking to Coach O'Leary being like, fine. And that's how it was. And even, Dave, even when I was in high school, it was still okay as long as a parent was like, coach can take you home. That was still fine. And that's, 07 to, from 04 to 07. So it's like, it's crazy how things have changed so rapidly where,
well, I mean,
we would never imagine our coaches not having our best interest in heart. So them offering us a ride home, it's just like, okay, our uncle or our second dad is taking us home. It's not a big deal type of thing.
I don't believe we'd be allowed to take the motorhome today. I
don't think so. You could bring it to meets, but I don't think you'd be able to besides your own son.
No.
First and foremost, Mr. O'Leary wouldn't have asked the school. He would have cared less what they said. He just would have said, so like he wouldn't have, he'd be like, okay, sure. But no.
I remember one meet, Dave. One meet, I think it was cross country. I think it might have been a winter track meet. It was up in the Poconos.
Yeah.
Snow hit, and you guys couldn't even get back, right?
Right.
That was amazing.
Mr. O'Leary was the best. But
we used to take the kids up to our camping in the Poconos, and they would run down a 7-mile mountain and run back. It was kind of
fun times.
A lot of fun.
I mean, but I think one of my favorite aspects of having my parents around was that they weren't just there for me. I remember my senior year short conference race. I didn't run the short conference mile, but one of my good friends, Jason Klophouse, who literally moved here in spring of his junior year. So it was his first whole year running. He was running the 1600. And my parents came as if I was running the meet, and he ended up winning in 418, but like they were just as excited for him winning, and he went meet of champs and he got second in the 2 mile, and my parents were there. I didn't qualify, but it was just like, they were always there for every kid. And like, they would spend the night at my house. My mom and dad would always feed them. They would go on family vacations with us. So, it was just like, they treated everyone as if it was like another child of theirs. And it was really, really cool, especially now looking back on it. It was.
I think one of my proudest moments too was when you became Ocean County during track season freshman of the year, and then you got sophomore of the year, and that was like out of all these kids,
Yeah, it was the Ocean County freshman and sophomore MVP. Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, I think in terms of you as an athlete, one particular race, I think it was sectionals, but I'm not sure. Steve Greer was not able to finish the race, and he was supposed to get the team 10 points.
That was the counties, my junior year.
Junior year, right? And Club had just come. I mean, it was his first track season.
Yeah, that was his first season running. Yeah,
and you guys were running a mile, right? You were
1,500. Yep.
And because Greer had not been able to get the 10 points that everybody expected because he got hurt, it came down to you guys needed to get 10 points in that race.
No, and we got third and fourth.
And you got third and fourth, and nobody thought either one of you. They thought you
6 points and 4 points. 10 points.
They didn't have any idea what Klopp could do, and you pulled him. You pulled him through.
Yeah, I was 30. He was fourth.
I think.
Yeah, that's incredible. You know, that's the beauty of track and field, right? You know, as you're competing against each other on the track, you're also, you know, rooting for each other. Because I know probably Dave could probably remember this like the back of his head. In his mind, as he's starting to go and, you know, get into the meat and potatoes of the race, and he's like, okay, I'm in a good spot. I'm going to kick. I'm going to go. He's probably in the back of his mind thinking, come on, clap. As he's trying to win, you know, probably that's exactly what's going through his mind. So,
he just followed me. Yep.
And so I want to ask you from a parent's perspective, because I think that you can only understand this if you have, you know, kind of fully raised a child or been through parenting and watching your child go through sports and things like that. What was it like managing him as a high level talented athlete, managing his highs and lows? You know, you talked about him kind of getting the reality check in 8th grade of losing, but then obviously track and field's a roller coaster, right? You know, you're successful, you win, you learn to win as a team, but you still want to get your PRs. You go through a few good weeks where you're really running well, but then you can go through a plateau where it's not great. What was it like experiencing basically the fact that we have like split personality disorder, especially as distance runners, because we go through so much? Like, I trained so well this week. Why didn't I PR? Like, what was it like being parents of someone with that type of talent and kind of managing him, you know, the highs and lows?
Well, I think Dave, and the fact that Dave did get the MVP freshman and sophomore year, he felt too much pressure on himself in his junior, senior year that he had to do it. And that sometimes that wasn't good for him. And he had to work through that. And that was the lows. You know, he had the highs where he ran good, and he had the lows when he used to beat himself up when he lost. And you feel sorry, you feel bad for them, you know, but he came through it.
Yeah, he did. And his senior year in high school, college was a whole different story because Dave was not focused on running too much in college. I don't think he found another part of his life when he was in college, and that was cool. That's the way it should be. But in high school, his senior year, his buddy Klopp came out of nowhere, hadn't even been part of the program, just moved into town, and this kid has incredible talent. Dave encouraged him to run. Dave encouraged him to become part of the team, and he went past him. You know, that was a low point for Dave because David's senior year was supposed to be the man. But there was somebody else that was just better than he was. And Dave dealt with that better than I thought he would. He matured to a point where...
And they became great friends. I mean,
they're still best buddies. But he matured to a point where he understood the role that he was supposed to play. He was the leader of the team. He just wasn't the fastest guy on the team. But he was the leader of the team. He kept them all together. And it was hard. The highs and the lows, the roller coaster. Dave's an emotional person. I'm a very emotional person. He's a very competitive person. I'm a very competitive person. I think sometimes I felt that I put more pressure on him than I probably should have. He knew I wanted him to win. He knew I wanted him to excel. And his senior year, I learned probably more than he did about the whole idea of what it meant to be an athlete. Something that I was never good enough to enjoy. He became the team leader. He became the guy that the younger guys looked up to. He became the guy that encouraged everybody else. And I think that's when I knew he was going to be a really, really, really good man.
And the great thing about track was all those guys on a team are still friends.
Yeah.
They go to weddings. They stay in contact. And then the same guys that he hated in high school because they made them not like each other. They're friends in college. They all ran together, like Will and Alan. Will and other guys, Adam.
They're buddies now. It's cool.
We've had them on the show.
Yeah. I mean, he's lifelong friendships came from his whole experience as an athlete. And I think it has a lot to do, not just with running per se, but I think cross country. I think what you guys go through as distance runners.
Oh yeah.
It's
different.
And it's a bond that you develop because you have to respect the effort that each one of you have to put in.
And as parents, we do like cross country better because it doesn't last as long.
That is very true. No, it's definitely a testament to Dave that we've been able to pull this show through a lot because of all of his friends want to come back. And, and it is a testament that people still want to talk to Dave. And, and it's not a mean thing or anything, but it's like there's certain people, it's like, yeah, we're friends, we drifted, meh. But people still want to come back and do that, which is awesome. Obviously I wanted to do the show with Dave. So you're pretty cool, I guess. But so any advice to any parents now about, having an athlete, whether high level, low level, whatever, any advice to parents on how to handle some of these things now that you've seen it from looking at it now and looking back, like any advice on what to do if your son or daughter has a, great achievement and they're on cloud 9 or they have the lowest of low and they're, they think they can never pick themselves back up?
Well, the first thing is to actually do the very best you can to actually physically be there. Some parents just can't. Their jobs just don't allow them the time. But if it's a Saturday and you don't have to work, don't drop them off. Be there. And don't just stay till they finish their race. Stay for the whole meet. Because you encourage them to be part of the team, then you should be part of the team. And it was a really good thing because so many of the parents that we became friendly with, and some of them are still really close friends, is because they had the same attitude. You want your child to be part of the whole, but you want the whole to be as strong as it can. And if the parents aren't willing to take some time out of their life, as long as the schedules allow it, to be there, they're not going to learn that lesson. Kids learn by watching how adults do things.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing, I think, is set some parameters. Don't tell them they did great when they didn't. Try to help them keep their head straight when they do well. And constantly remind them that, coach matters. Don't try to go outside of whatever parameters the coach sets, because 95% of parents really don't know anywhere near what the coaches know about what their own child needs to be to improve as an athlete.
Preach.
That's a big thing.
Preach. Oh, that's awesome. Bill, do you have anything?
I can't say any better than Pam did.
That was awesome. So before, I want to close out, and I think this will be good. I want each of you, including Dave, to give your fondest memory of, you as parents, watching Dave through all the years that he competed. And Dave, I want you to give a memory of something that in running that you accomplished and that, with, and that your parents, what a good memory there. So I'm going to go with the parents first. We'll close out with you, Dave.
Okay. My favorite memory was not something Dave did on the track. It wasn't something he did running cross country. It actually came at the end of his high school career when he was a senior, and it came at the senior banquet. Like I said before, Dave wasn't the best runner on the cross country team. Klopp was better than him. And it was supposed to be his year, but it didn't turn out to be that way athletically. And at the end of the banquet, Coach always gives out all the awards. And he gave an award for this, award for this, award. And he gave his buddy Jason the most valuable player, most valuable performer, because he was.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Absolutely.
I'm sitting back there and I'm wondering, this kid's been a varsity athlete since he was a freshman. Yeah, I think he was the first freshman cross-country runner at South that was varsity, but I'm not sure of that. But O'Leary then pulled another plaque out and he gave a speech, and started talking about this kid. He goes, this is a guy who dedicated his whole career to the team. He was an inspiration to everybody on the team. He was a leader, and he helped his teammates become better than they were, better than they thought they were, because of who he was. And then he gave it to Dave. I cried. I think Dad had a tear in his eye. And I looked around and the other moms were crying. That's my favorite memory.
That's awesome. That's great. Dad, what's your favorite memory?
Oh, along with what Pam just said, one of my favorite memories was the motorhome. I mean, it was just a lot of fun going to these different meets and having all the other kids look at us and say, wow, they're doing this, and wanting to come over and talk to us. And,
yeah,
they come over and talk, well, why are you doing it? Well, we're doing it because we're here for the team. And you want some pasta? Sure.
And we really did feed kids from other teams.
That's so cool.
And we did feed officials.
They need it. Officials need love too. Okay. Officials need love. They get a lot of flack. Dave, what's your favorite memory?
I don't know if I have one. I mean, it's, looking back now, I have such a different perspective on that whole time of my life, and like I said earlier, I definitely feel like I didn't appreciate my parents being there then as much as I do now. But, I think just knowing that they always had my back and that I could look over in the stands, or, Mr. O'Leary was a big whistler. So, he would whistle, he had different whistles, like slow or long, and then they all meant different things. So then he found out that my mom could whistle, and he would say, all right, Pam, you stay over there, give 3 small whistles. So she was just seeing my parents be encompassed and becoming part of our team. There was not one meet that they weren't at. So every kid knew that my parents were going to be there, and just watching them cheer for every other kid. I enjoyed that more than even, that they were there to watch me run. Just knowing that they were always there, I had such wonderful memories of my childhood because I was always with my mom and dad, and it was just, it was just wonderful to be able to look back knowing that as a family, we did so many things together. And, I have to give a shout out to my little brother too. We were very, very different. He wasn't at many, many meets, but, he and I talk now all the time. We were talking this afternoon about, how lucky we were to have our parents, and how no matter what it was, me with running or him, he got into culinary school, they were always there, and they always made sure that we had whatever we needed. And they were there to hug us, when things were bad, or they were there to keep us humble, even though I wasn't always the most humble person, but as you get older in life, things happen in life that definitely humble you, and to help pick you up whenever you fall. I still talk to my mom and dad all the time, and I'm just, blessed. So I don't have one moment. It's just, it's kind of, and just everything looking back, it was just a magical time in my life, and having my mom and dad there made it that much better.
One other thing, Alex, I just thought of that was a highlight was Mr. O'Leary gave us team jackets.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That was awesome. I don't think the board knew who we gave them to.
It doesn't matter. O'Leary does what he wants.
It had our names on them, Bill and Pam. It was
so cool.
Those were the Group 3 state championship jackets.
Yeah,
they were. Yeah, they were. I think it was for the motorhome more than anything else.
So one last question for you, Dave. Now, you're a teacher, you're a coach, you did all that. What is it like now looking back and as you coach and you see some parents involved, some parents not? Does that also give you a different perspective with how involved your parents were since you went through seeing athletes have successes and failures and whether or not, they had some people to turn to outside of just their coaches and their peers?
Yeah, I definitely had teammates who weren't as lucky as I was to, always have their parents there. And certainly as a coach, like which kids, like you mentioned earlier, Mr. and Mrs. Davern, especially Mrs. Davern over at Manchester. She was like my parents at everything.
She still have Blockhaven meets.
I think every team needs some parents like that. It was definitely different in cross country because it was definitely a much more of a tight knit, even with the parents. But it's just, I think it's different now too. I think both of my parents worked, but I think definitely there's more parents now working than even when I was in high school.
Yeah,
where both parents work. So I definitely think it's harder now, than it was. And then we just had the whole thing with COVID and everything. So, it's a whole different world, but you definitely, as a coach, you definitely appreciate those parents that have your back and that will go above and beyond for the team, for their kid, for every other kid. So I definitely thought of that often when I was, dealing with like Mrs. Davern or someone of that ilk, just to it was just nice. And it definitely brought back a lot of memories from when I was a kid.
So, Pam and Bill, what is the status of the RV now?
We just sold one.
They just sold it.
Here's my request. My request is you get another one. You decorate it blue and gold, and go to Manchester. Become Manchester RV parents. Come on. Create that tradition. We can get Coach Griff on board. I'm pretty sure he'll be on board. And let's start it up. Forget Tom's River. Come to the dark side.
Hey, we RV'd for 48 years. It was time.
Woo. Man, that's awesome. So honestly, I really enjoyed this podcast. Thank you guys so much for coming on.
Thanks for having us.
Again, that is Pam and Bill Hyatt. They are dedicated running parents, and if you couldn't tell now, they are Dave's awesome parents. So we're very fortunate. I think this is fantastic. I love doing this. Dave, we certainly have to have more parents on because I think this is going to be cool to get a different perspective, and that's what our show was all about, right? Drawing more out to the sport, getting different views of the sport, different stories, and making track fun. Make track fun, damn it.
Absolutely. It was fun.
Dave, anything else to say before we jump out of here?
Just, tons of gratitude to my mom and dad. I love you guys. And, thank you for always being there for me and for everyone who was on my team. And, for being so encouraging just about this podcast, always listening and just,
Oh, it's great. When we travel, we listen to the podcast.
Just thank you for being wonderful parents. I love you guys.
Thanks, guys, for giving us a chance. It was fun.
Yeah, thank you guys as well. And, good chance shout out. Thank you to all the parents, past, present, current, that are dedicated to the athletes. Be nice to the officials. Be nice to the coaches. They're all trying their best. All right. Everyone, thank you so much. We will be back next week. As always, like, share, follow, subscribe, rate us 5 stars, Spotify and iTunes. Spread this word of mouth. Go find us on the socials. See everyone later.